Hello, hello.
Hey,
Hey, Mitch, how you doing?
good. Good morning or afternoon or wherever you are.
Yeah, I think it is my morning, but it is actually afternoon though, because that's just how my schedule works. But what up?
Alright, well, it's actually my morning and it's morning, so good morning.
Okay, nice, dude. So, what's the plan today? What do you want to be doing for league and everything?
Well, yeah, I thought I'd ask you what made most sense to work on. I've got a little folder of replays that I've put together and sort of labeled them based on what I think I could learn from them. Um, so the three things I'm really trying to work on is number one, basics, which is just getting my macro right, making sure I'm building what I'm supposed to be building. Um, I feel like practice is what's going to help me there most of all, rather than more theory. But I don't know, I could be doing it wrong.
Sure.
And then the other two things I've got reacting to stuff when it happens, and then scouting stuff before it happens, and responding.
Okay.
And that's a space that I have a lot of trouble with. I spent like all yesterday getting demolished by all ins, and I was scouting them almost every time. And I'm like, all right, I've got two proxy barracks at my third, so I know I'm gonna have marauders here soon. I see the tech labs, and then I just lose anyway because zealots are not good against marauders, even if I've got six of them.
Sure. uh, what league officially are you in right now?
Plat one.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so sounds good. I definitely think your mindset is in the right place for a plat player. Like, we'll probably talk about some more efficient ways you can play the game because efficiency is always a major thing that a lot of people will struggle with. But
Yeah.
having a lot of like knowledge of like how to react to stuff and what you see, which creates what situation is going to happen, we'll definitely delve into that too, to really help you with that. But I guess to get it started, what we can do right now is or I'll just type it in Discord to make it really easy. I'll type you my account details, and
Okay,
then
cool.
just go ahead and throw me an ad. 1578. There you go. That's my account. And then tell me what your account is on BattleNet because I have a few pending ones so I'll have to know which one you are.
Oh yeah, okay, cool. Let me just add you. Sorry, I've only got one monitor, so I'm
No, you're all good, dude.
doing a bit alt.
I remember alt having with one monitor. That was actually how I started streaming. It was so hard. All right. What? So which one is your
I
name?
used to have two. I sold the other one when my wife and I moved in together.
Yeah.
Sad story. So, my BattleNet name is Shoots number
Okay.
1851.
Cool. I got you. All right. So now, I'll go ahead and add you. Go ahead and create the replay of with the create with party or whatever. Watch with others, and then we'll get it. We'll jump into this. We'll jump in.
Yeah. Can I watch with others? Oh,
So it has all the only restriction is it has to be of the current patch. So
yeah.
if it's really old, it'll probably we would have to watch it off of BattleNet, which would mean we'd have to watch it through the stream then.
Yeah. This one's like 4 days old, but
Okay.
I guess they just released that new one. Hey, with the
It might still
small
work.
changes.
It might still work. I don't know if that
No,
pat.
it says
It doesn't.
created in previous versions of
Oh
StarCraft.
my
What?
god. Oh my god, that sucks.
Oh, I'm prepared for this.
Is there any replays that you've played after that? I guess that might be able to.
Yeah, I've got some. I'm not sure how useful any of them are, given they're kind of short or like just steamrolls.
We
Anyway, I
we could
have a
watch the other
couple.
one. We could watch the other one too if you really want to watch that one. If it's like perfectly what you need, because and I can just update you constantly on the timer we're at, and then so you can watch it yourself too. But you can also have the maybe because you only have one monitor, so I can just keep updating you what I'm looking at and what time
Oh
I'm
yeah,
at.
and I can always see your screen afterwards. Hey, because there'll be a VOD or
Yeah,
something.
they're 100% be a VOD.
I mean, is that hard? Because those,
I've
yeah,
done
I
it
put
before.
those together, going like, I know I can learn from these ones.
I would say if we were talking about the amount of time we're gonna lose just by having to update you where I am, it's maybe like 3 minutes in total out of the hour. So we're still gonna have
Okay,
a
wow.
mostly efficient thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be happy with that if you're happy with
Sure,
that.
I'm cool. That's fine. Just go ahead and I guess that for that replay, just drag it over from your replay folder.
Okay, yep.
If you don't know where to find that, I can tell you where. You just
No, I can right click on a replay
uh,
and say show in folder.
okay, and then just drag it into the Discord chat window between you and me, and I'll open it myself too.
Okay, I think. Yeah, I think this one's probably handy. You can see I've labeled it react. This is where I see something's happening and I'm not sure I respond appropriately.
Yeah. Hmm.
Actually, you can probably tell what happens by reading that replay name.
Phoenix RS into Army giveaway.
Yeah. That's the teaser trailer.
All right. So I am all right, I'm gonna go ahead. Tell me when you're ready to start and I'll go ahead and start it up.
Oh yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. So I'm gonna have it on just like ×2 for now, and I'm gonna start playing it right now. I'm just gonna kind of look at your opener as well. Okay. Pause it. I'm gonna pause it at like 26, and I'm gonna say first things first. If you know it's a PvP, if it's not PV random, always pylon near the ramp. Like, because the reason why this will happen, or why this is important, is because you open yourself up to so much aggression from potential adepts if you do not do this. And
Yep.
I would say most players in higher league, Diamond Plus, the Masters Plus, it's going to be very common. You're going to see double adept openers, which are just going to go for probes, and this can just straight up end the game if you lose like 5 or 6 probes right off the start. So
Right.
yeah, that's just, we don't have to talk too long about that. It's just very important, I would say, to get in the habit of always doing the ramp, so you can always pile and block if you need to.
Yeah. Can I just ask one question quickly?
Sure, yeah.
Because I guess we're not going to see it in this game, but in Protoss games, I have been doing that. Is like sort of blocking my main ramp a little bit, and what ends up happening is I end up getting proxied or rushed or something, and they knock my natural down because I don't have enough to defend it, and then I just end up contained in my main base. While they, I guess, just get bigger and bigger, and I eventually push them back, but it's too late at that point.
So you're saying you block the natural ramp, like you go down in front of your natural and block it, like as if you're playing against Zerg?
No, just the main
Okay.
the main ramp,
Okay.
not block, but
Oh, I know, yeah.
before go.
Uh,
And so once the natural goes down, I'm happy and I'm safe in my base, and there's a shield battery, and they can't get in. But I'm now a one base Protoss.
so that, I feel like that just comes from like when your probe scout happens. And when your probe scout happens, is when it should be in a PvP,
Right.
is after you build your gate. So the first gate goes down, probe goes across the map, and if you see someone is not doing 2-gate core in their base, and they're doing anything else, we'd have to take it's a case-by-case basis, but 2-gate core is very standard in PvP, and if they're not doing that, we would be like, okay, well, what is the potential here of what he could be doing? And, things like... It would depend on when he takes his gas, how much money he might have. But as soon as you take your natural, if the dude still is like, let's just say like maybe only 1 gate and a core in his main and that's it, you'd have to, and no tech, you'd be like, okay, well, maybe now we're getting proxied. And that could be the time when you would make, instead of making your natural, you could make like just more stalkers, make your robo before your natural, stuff like that. And you'd be great.
Oh, yeah, okay. That makes sense.
So the scouting is definitely going to, like you were just talking about a minute ago, scouting is definitely going to tell you everything.
Cool.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and resume in 3, 2, 1. And then just a quick little tip here, something to do while you're kind of chilling and there's not much going on. Try to just stack every single close patch you have with 2 probes. If you're looking to maximize efficiency, it'll definitely make you have a little bit more money a little bit faster for all things like your gate timing, your pretty much anything that costs minerals. It'll be a little faster.
Yeah, I've seen you talk about that a lot.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
not quite there yet.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna pause it right now again at 129, and right now we can see 2-gate core. So this build automatically is standard, and this dude is doing the same thing you are, which is he's not building it at the ramp. So if you, but the one thing I will say that's different in your build and his build is it looks like you're just gonna go 1-gate Nexus. That's fucking greedy. That's super greedy. I'm not saying you can't. I'm not saying you can't do this, but if this dude, so you both opened up the same way and neither one of you blocked your ramp. But the thing is for him is because he's going 2-gate core and then he's going to expand. He has the ability to be a little bit aggressive if he wants to be, because you're going for the Nexus and you're delaying your 2nd gate and your 2nd core and your core. Your build's going to probably be like about 20 seconds behind his or so, or maybe like 25 seconds behind his in terms of just making your units, because you're going for the natural first. So if this dude wanted to, he could make 2 adepts, run across the map with them, and he could kill more probes than it's worth for you making this Nexus right now. Just because of how PvP works. However, if you would have built your pylon on the ramp and like to give you a room for the gateway to be on the ramp and the core, and then you could make one final doorway blocking pylon as his adepts try to get in your base. I would say that would be the only way you could cover the risk you're taking right now.
Yeah, I'm not sure my reaction speed is quite there to like pylon block my ramp at the moment. But
sure.
I guess I can put like a zealot there.
Yeah, no, that's what I normally do, because you got to always consider this too. If he's gonna make something that requires a core to attack you, and you can make something that requires a core to defend, and you're both Protoss, you should be able to have a stalker on the front of your ramp before he runs across the entire map to get to your base.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, like, you could have a stalker standing at like the base, or not the base, but like the tip of the ramp on the high ground, but it's like right at the top of the ramp, so he can't see you right away. So but it gives you like an extra 3 or 4 seconds to react, to be like, oh look, 2 adepts are coming at my base, and let's get ready to pylon block that doorway. All right, I'm gonna, and also at any point in this coaching lesson, if I'm ever talking and you really want to say something, by all means, you can totally interrupt me too. I don't mind.
Yep, I've never had a problem with that, so I'm sure I will.
All right, sounds good. All right, I'm gonna start it up in 3, 2, 1. All right, and now I see you building. Oh wait, oh. Okay, we got a Nexus going down, and then now, yeah, no, this is when I said like 25 seconds delayed before. Now it's more like 40, because it's I'm gonna pause it actually at like 212. 212. His core is done, and he is making 2 adepts. Like, he's doing exactly what I would do if I wanted to punish you for this. Your core is starting at the time his is done, and the core itself has like a 36-second build time, I believe. Hold on, sorry, I just kind of, there we go. So yeah,
I would say normally I build my core before I build that second pylon. I'm not really
you should,
sure what I did here, but
the build for like a standard build for Protoss should honestly be pylon, gateway, and then when the first gateway is about 80% of the way done, or like 75% of the way done, you make a second gateway, then you make a core as soon as the first gate finishes, you make a second gas, and then you make a second pylon, and then you expand to your natural.
Right.
And the reason why this is and this is probably also why you die at proxy pressures if you do this kind of a build often, like if you go Nexus before core. PvP is just one of those matchups where you need to have some type of safety net, because then again, the main reason why is because most Protosses do this kind of shit where they go double adept. It happens a lot, and if you don't have,
looking at this and the fact that I've got a zealot out at like 212 makes me think maybe this game came after I was cannon rushed in a previous game.
Sure.
And I'm like still PTSD.
And what my honest opinion is, looking at this, that zealot is a waste of money. Even if you're getting hit by 2 adepts, that zealot is still a waste of money. I would say the only time a zealot is actually worth it is if you're getting cannon rushed and you make it as a reaction to that.
Yeah, that's the only thing I can think of. Having built him, because normally I'd just get straight into stalkers.
Because all that zealot really does is it delays everything. Like, I would rather have seen a faster core than that zealot and stuff like that.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna resume it in 3, 2, 1. But now, what I predict is gonna happen in this game is you're gonna probably lose like 6 to 8 probes to these 2 adepts if this guy's proactive with that, and then it's just gonna be, like your lead you wanted to take, which would be maybe you're gonna have like a little bit of a probe lead. It's gonna really be just destroyed because there's no way to actually get rid of these adepts right now. I mean, but we'll see how active this guy's gonna be with them, because you already have 2 zealots and he still hasn't shown up yet.
I can't remember it.
But yeah, no, like, here we go. Okay, let's see what happens. Yeah, so it's getting a little, like, his adept is definitely getting some damage done here. I will say this though, like, I do not think that this adept his adept attack was definitely for some reason delayed, and also was not as critical as it could have been in terms of probe loss. You lost about 5. I was estimating probably like 6, but And you're still ahead by 5 workers. And I will say the only reason why this happened and is because he delayed them for so long. Like, he probably just built them and sat around for a while. I don't know. I don't know why they showed up so late. But
we're only planning them.
Yeah, no, I know it's okay. But I will say, at this point now, all things considered, your build did have a lot of a risk to it to open with, but you are now actually ahead. Just because your natural's done, his isn't even started yet. You have a worker lead still, and yeah, that just means that you're going to be able to outproduce whatever he does. So here's something you can do. This is something that is kind of required for Protoss. Okay, if you're going to go for an expansion, this is required. Because in PvP you have 2 ways to play it out. You either play hyper aggressive, and you make things like Adept Oracle, or something like, or like do just like a massive stalker timing, or you play macro oriented, which is you can make defensive stalkers, because I would say stalkers are the best unit defensively because they're the most versatile, but you need to make a sentry, and we're talking about an early sentry, just one. And the reason why it's important is because you want to get those hallucinated phoenixes out there. Because if you scouted this Protoss's base, and it doesn't matter that you built a robo. I don't mind, even though the robo is wrong right now. It's okay that you built it because you can afford it. But if you would have scouted his base with a hallucinated phoenix here pretty soon, because let's just pretend you made a stalker and a sentry, and then you start making more stalkers, you could see the fact that you go, oh, this dude doesn't have a natural, and he's going into phoenixes, phoenix with a Stargate. And even he has a robo, but you can see that he's got Phoenix. So if I scout this, if I'm you and I go, okay, well, let's just see, we have 2 gates for our opponent and we got robo and Stargate. I would be like, all right, the perfect way to answer this would be, let's just make immortals because he has the robo, and let's just make extra, like just make nothing but stalkers. That way, if he does show up at my base with something gateway related and robo related plus Stargate, my stalkers will zone out his Stargate, and then my robo gateway will counter his robo gateway because I have way more production than he does in terms of money. Plus, the last thing I would say is, if you see this guy's going Phoenix, if we would have scouted this, okay, and we would have been like, okay, yeah, our little hallucinate Phoenix saw he's going Phoenix, there's 0 point to make these batteries. So it's things like this that it just slow you down, because when you really think about if the Phoenix show up at your base and you have more stalkers than he has Phoenix, you will easily beat that fight. So batteries don't make sense for that. Plus, if he has less Phoenix than you have army, he's most likely going to go for your probes, and batteries will not stop probes from dying to a Phoenix. Especially not only because of where they're located, but even then, if they're in the mineral line, they still won't save them because Phoenix like insta kill probes.
And so that scout would come from a hallucinated Phoenix from the sentry that you built.
Yep. Yeah. So if
my scouting has always been that probe at the beginning, and then once my robo's up, I send an observer, and that's where I'm at the moment.
Okay. So always, if you're gonna expand, again, I love expanding with Protoss. I love expanding with every race. So I'm totally an advocate. I advocate playing macro expansion styles. But with your first 2 gates, always do Stalker first, Sentry second, and then Stalker, 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 Stalker after that. For for the foreseeable future, until you realize if you if you see something where you're like, oh shit, like I need to make something else, or I want to make something else, then that's fine. But generally speaking, Stalkers are great. They're amazing. All right. So right now, just to give you an update, because I did not actually tell you I paused it. I'm currently at 4 minutes and 8 seconds on the replay. And if you're ready to go again, let me know and I'll resume. We'll keep going.
Yeah, I'm just
And I didn't tell you to pause it, so I imagine you just probably played for a while. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, dude.
I watched the Probe Holocaust without
Yo,
you.
Inferno, thanks for the Okay, I'm going in 3, 2, 1. Because yeah, like right now, for sure, you could have already had one, if not maybe even your second hallucination getting ready to go into his base by now. So it's just like, you're getting a really delayed reaction to what could be happening in this game.
Right.
And I'm going to pause it one more time right now at 5:05. So this is the other thing that's really important in a PvP. So if this Protoss player, if you scouted him and you went, this guy has no natural, and I'm like, if your Phoenix gets into his base and you see no natural, you see no signs of an expansion, and then you we're talking like maybe like 4 minutes 30 or like right around in the 4 to 5 minute threshold. Okay, in that period of time, if you never see a natural and you're like, he hasn't even started a natural yet, and my natural has 10 probes on it. Scout him again at like just around 5 minutes, like right now. He still doesn't, like, let's just pretend he didn't have a natural still. And you're like, my natural is now fully saturated, and he still doesn't have a natural. Then, and you've still been keeping efficiency in terms of like just building gateway units, building units out of your robo, fully saturating your mineral lines. I'd be like, now is the time to make batteries, and for sure, and just keep making units and you win the game because this dude is not expanding. However, if we would scout him, and what's happening in this game is, you know, like this exact game we're playing right now is what we see, and we go, okay, well, my natural as Protoss is fully saturated. His natural isn't even done yet. What you could totally do right now is, like, you know, you have this massive lead. You should know you have a massive lead right now, and what you could do as a way to capitalize on that even further is keep producing units out of what you got. Try to scout his composition beyond that, which you would see now is definitely Phoenix, because you can see him in your base. And then you'd see he has the access to Gateway Robo, which is what you have too, which is totally fine. I would say a perfect response to this would be taking a third base, because he's going to try and kill your probes right now, and you can just expand that lead even further. So the Phoenix are not threatening at all right now, because even if he kills like 6 probes, you're still having this massive probe lead. But chrono boosting probes and taking a third base would be perfect, because he has no intentions to kill you right now, because he's going Phoenix harass into an expansion himself. And then, yeah, probes are going to die, but you can just rebuild them as fast as they die. So his Phoenix become basically useless. And then you have a lot of stalkers too, so then you could go, oh, well, this guy went for shitty economy Phoenix. I could have and then he also just burned all of his energy on Phoenix. There's 2 ways you can react to this, other than what I said with the economy. We're talking about your army now. You could either have your stalkers kind of split apart and try to defend your probe lines even better, so you couldn't really get any damage done. Or you could just go for a counterattack right now and test his base and see if he could even defend himself. Because if you look at his unit stab. He has 4 adepts and those 3 Phoenix. You have a zealot and 7 stalkers. If you just attacked him with your stalkers, you would probably kill his expansion.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because going into Phoenix, like doing a 1 base Phoenix opener like the way he did, and just stockpiling Phoenix and then hitting you, that's so much of his economy that's just like invested into this, and he's delayed his own economy so badly to go like heavy Phoenix right away. And these Phoenix, even if you don't attack him and take advantage of that, these Phoenix, it's like that thing I talk about in like the BDGM all the time, where it's like he cut 15 probes or something to kill like 6. So he's still behind by like 9, more or less. We're just throwing numbers out there, but they make sense though, where it's like, if you cut into your own economy so bad to rush tech and then you don't do more damage than what you cut out, it's not worth it.
Yeah. So the solution here is like, if I had that sentry, if I was scouting better, I'd have a better idea of this.
100%.
You know what?
100%.
It's a move time. Let's do it.
Yeah. And like, even if you don't kill him, you still have a lead. Like, because you force reactions out of him too, which is like, you could force him to make a bunch of batteries right now as well, when he's not really wanting to put that cost into his build, because his economy is so shitty compared to yours at the moment.
Yeah, all while being on 1 base.
Yeah.
Whereas instead, I have no information here, so I just get really defensive.
Yeah, exactly. Like, just that's going to be the one major thing so far that's going to change your build so much, in terms of just because right now I think when you said, oh, I need to work on my scouting and how to react to stuff, but it's because you're reacting to stuff being blind and you're just kind of like playing the guessing game. Whereas if you had that sentry, you would actually see what's going on, and you'd be like, okay, well, now I'm getting good reads. And the biggest read of all is literally when you fly over, not his current base, because you both should be fully saturated, but flying over his newer base, which is going to be your natural at this point in the game. And you go, okay, well, I have a natural and I have a sentry. Let's see his natural. And you just compare. You're like, oh, I have 10 probes on mine and it's done and it's building more. And his natural is like just starting or something like that. And you're like, wow, okay, well, obviously I could totally be the defender now, because every second this game continues, I'm getting way further ahead than he is. Like, I'm playing the long game, he's playing the short game. All right, I'm going to resume it in 3, 2, 1. And then, too, at this point, I'm going to actually pause the game one more time at 5:23. Talk about one thing really fast, which is I know a lot of people get distracted whenever things happen like this, but never like, and also you haven't seen it, the fact that he has a natural yet, which is it's okay. But even if right now, if you're blind, you need to definitely not stop making probes, because as soon as those Phoenix hit you, your probe count just completely ceased to be, and it's been about 10 seconds since that happened. So at the very least, like, always put a priority on being like, well, I still need to make a decent amount of probes, and you just killed a few. Let's chrono boost my Nexus and just catch back up, like immediately recover what I lost and get to full saturation on 2 bases at the very least. And if we had seen he has a natural and he's going for Phoenix Harass, there's nothing stopping you from taking a 3rd base. But yeah, anyway, my point is, though, is definitely recover your economy as fast as you can. Don't ever let this happen where it's like just idle. Undersaturated. All right, I'm going to resume it in 3, 2, 1. Another thing, too, that will help you a lot is just watching how many observers you're making. This is also kind of scary, because if you were blind and if this guy was doing a timing and you spent your robo making 2 observers now, having immortals is a great way to not die to a timing. It's massive. So yeah, like the Phoenix Harass from the Sentry will help you with that as well a lot. I'm just getting kind of scared for you because I'm like, oh god, so many observers. And then I'm going to pause it one more time at 640. And this, if you ever play against a Protoss player who is going for Phoenix, and let's just, again, this is once again correlating with the fact that you're scouting, because right now you actually haven't seen anything out of his base. You got here and you oversighted your observer. If you see, or if you either see Phoenix out on the map that are harassing you, or if you see his Stargate and you never see it being idle, you're like, oh, he's making a Phoenix again, and again, and again, and again. This guy's going heavy Phoenix. A great response to this, even though you made the Robo, a great response to Phoenix is making a Twilight Council and just getting Blink on your Stalkers. Or going Phoenix yourself. Because if you have Blink every time this guy commits to your base, you're guaranteeing that you're going to kill at least 1 Phoenix, possibly more. So it makes it really hard for him to take efficient trades.
Right.
But yeah, again, I think your biggest problem is that I think you're very timid about scouting. And right now, we still haven't even confirmed that there's... obviously, you can assume there's a natural, but we still haven't confirmed it. And then we haven't confirmed any of his tech path in the main. And now even though this dude was so far behind earlier, he's actually now squeezing out a 3rd base on you, and he's keeping you contained off of the back of Phoenix. Which is, it's just because I feel like you're playing too scared, more or less. So far, any questions so far about anything we've talked about?
Well, I guess like my standard, and I suppose this will change, because my standard is I always robo and 2 observers. 1 goes to scout their base and 1 sits with my army in case of, I need high ground vision or DTs or something.
Sure.
Something that, that observer's just saved me so many times that I just build it now, I guess. But and you can see it, the first one's there in Overwatch mode to save.
By the way, Zombie Otter and Marcom, thank you for the subs.
But I guess the question is, like, do I still send an observer over there? And if I do, what do I do differently?
You do not need to send an observer to his base at all for now, because the observer and a hallucinated scout, once again, they do the same thing. They're just looking at what he's building. Like, you don't physically need to see a DT to know he's going DTs or something like that. However, if you scout your opponent's base, okay, well, I'll just throw some things out there that are logical, ways to read Protoss. If you have your first hallucinated Phoenix scout and you compare his build to your build, right? You're like, okay, let's just say your natural is at 80% completion when your first hallucinated Phoenix is ready to go. And you send it across the map. As soon as it gets to his natural, your natural is like 3 seconds from being done. And you look at his base and you go, he doesn't even have one. Well, then I would say, having your robo, which you could have built even though you haven't seen his base yet, your robo could at this point be like 50% done, because going 2-gate robo is totally fine. I don't mind that you're doing that. But then I would say, oh look, he doesn't have a natural, and then you then take your Phoenix and you fly further into his base, and let's just say you see a Twilight Council then I'd be like, yeah, okay, making an observer first would make sense. That'd be totally fine, because the possibility of him going DTs now, like he's not making a natural and he's teching really fast to a council. You can't really expect it to be like a one base adept charge lot or blink all in, because like it could be that, but he's gonna have a really low production of gateway units. It's not gonna be that scary. He's gonna like he'll show up with like 8 units and then it's kind of over, because he doesn't have the power of multiple economy to like mass the units. So tech might.
If I saw the Stargate in this game, then I would just go heavier on the Stalkers.
Yeah, exactly. If you saw the Stargate this game, you don't even need observers at all. You know that and also the fact that he's going Phoenix. Just going into Blink, making probes, and Blink Stalkers zone out the Phoenix. Your probe production could be constantly being made. He can't do anything. Like, he's going to try and kill your probes. He will never win the Stalker fight at this point. And then you just, then you realize, oh, he's expanding too. Let's expand against that because he can't punish this. And then you go to a third base, and maybe you switch your composition into, like, Archons as well. And then suddenly this guy just dies. But my point I'm trying to make here is there's limitations with what you can do. And if you would have seen that whenever you scout a Protoss on average, and if you fly over their natural and their natural is tied with yours, you can already rule out the fact that tech is like rushed tech is happening. Like because they're playing economy instead. They're going heavier on the minerals. They're going to be making probes. They're going to be playing for a safer long game rather than going for some type of speedy ass attack. And I'm not saying making an observer is stupid. I'm not saying like, oh, never make one. But this is kind of what the final point I'm trying to get at here. If you go 2-gate robo again, that's fine. But if you would have scouted someone that has no natural, and then you see he has anything that is not a Twilight Council, if he has a robo, if he has a Stargate, you already know automatically DTs aren't a thing. He can't afford that. At this point in time, he can't make multiple tech lines off of one base.
Right, so that means immortals.
Yeah, and then exactly.
Stargate, obviously.
Yeah, because like one thing I would say is scary for you if you play this way where you're blind, which is kind of what you already mentioned a little bit, even though you said it was a cannon rush. I could totally see your build, how blind it is, dying to somebody who does something like where they go 3-gate robo with just like Stalker Immortal and they just do a timing and kill you. Because
that does kill me a lot.
Yeah, if you're just making observers, you have no actual defensive power when you are expanding like this, and your gateways are so delayed as well that if he's just going to go for an all-in off of gateway unit immortal, you will totally die.
Right.
All right. Anyways, we can start it. Go up again in 3, 2, 1. And also, well, just while I'm letting this still play, while you're playing a PvP, a great thing to always try to transition into is literally Charge Lot Archon Immortal. It is such a good composition just to go for in general. Nice, good job on splitting your Stalkers up too, by the way. You actually punished him really hard there. That's kind of like having your Stalkers around the Phoenix is always a nice thing to do. So you definitely punished him there. And if you just imagine if you had Blink as well. Like, you probably would have killed all the Phoenix, or maybe like 1 or 2 get out. But yeah, like, I think every PvP, everyone's goal in PvP is literally to eventually get into Charge Lot Archon Immortal. It is so incredibly strong. So the opener just sets the pace for your economy, and then, or like, if you're going to defend an all-in or something like that. But I'm gonna pause it one more time at 850 just to get this point across. No matter what opener you do, no matter the opener, there's like a 3-step pyramid of PvP in terms of power, and the very tip of the pyramid you almost will never get to. Even like pro games never really get to this point, but it is at the top. And I'll kind of describe from the bottom up how it goes. Any build that works in a way where it doesn't not matter how it works, it is everything except for Sky Toss, okay? So we're talking like Charge Lot all-ins, we're talking about adept timings with oracles, we're talking about Stalkers into disruptors, or just mass Stalkers, or DT rushes, fucking anything, like Stalker Immortal. Any kind of composition except just pure Sky Toss is at the bottom of the pyramid. In terms of like, it all will always develop to the middle of the pyramid, to the second stage, which is Charge Lot Archon Immortal. And Charge Lot Archon Immortal is That is literally where, like, I would say probably like 90% of PvPs always develop into, and it's really just whoever has more charge the Archon Immortal will probably be the winner. That's usually how it goes, and like
that's where like I would say 95% of my games are won at that point.
exactly.
I'm either
Sorry, go ahead.
either Immortals or Colossi, but that's where I win
Yeah.
the game generally, or I lose early.
Yeah, it always develops into that because it is such a strong form of PvP, and so like it's like, again, all these different openers that just like they have a lot of branches that just go into that. They always end up there anyways. And then the thing at the very top of the pyramid, which most people never go to, or just they just don't ever want to take the game to this point, is literally pure sky toss. We're talking like there's like two forms of sky toss. There's like the shitty sky toss, which is mass phoenix, and then there's just actual full blown sky toss, which is like carrier, mothership, like the more capital ship power style of Protoss.
Yeah.
And the only exception to this whole rule of Protoss pyramid that I was talking about is when a player, you will play these kinds of players sometimes, but they will go mass phoenix, almost like what this guy's doing, but not quite. This guy is still actually going like Archon Immortal already, and I wouldn't be, or sorry, he's going Zealot Immortal, and I would not be surprised if he starts making some Archons with it. But if someone just goes like mass phoenix and like cannons, that is the only exception to this rule, and all you got to do to beat someone who plays like that is literally just go Blink Stalkers into Archon Charge Lot Immortal, and then he just dies. But yeah, again, I would say like 90, like the majority of PvPs for sure always develop there. So what you want to do is if you ever see a need or a reason that you cannot go Charge Lot Archon Immortal, you need to make the whatever the hell you think is appropriate. Like right now, your amount of Stalkers, I would say, which is 24. This makes it would make sense if this guy was going mass Phoenix, but again, this comes from lack of scouting, right?
Yeah.
You're sticking to Stalkers for too long now, and this guy is actually switching into Charge Lot Archon Immortal. So your Stalkers are going to start having a major problem here pretty soon. Right. Like you're developing your supply into a weaker army than he is. So
I can see somehow, despite investing this much resource into Stalkers, I still managed to lose 22 workers, which seems like a lot.
The reason why you're losing so many workers too, I'm not gonna lie, is because you don't have Blink. Like having Stalkers and spreading them out is totally it's appropriate. It's a nice way to do things before you have Blink, but once you have Blink, that's what actually shuts the Phoenix down, because when you have Blink, every time he commits into the base, he has to commit into your ground, which you can Blink on. And the Blink will guarantee you're going to always pick off at least one Phoenix. So,
right.
And like possibly more, depending on how greedy he wants to be. And then that it's not ever going to be a good trade where you're like, oh, I went in, I picked up 2 probes, and then I lost like 2 Phoenix on my way out because he was there and I didn't want to lose all of my Phoenix. So, Blink is a great way if you scout someone's going Phoenix opener to instantly shut that down. But again, it turns into, can I go into Charge the Archon Immortal?
Yep, that makes sense.
And then just to say it finally, the last stage of just mass sky toss, and no matter what in PvP, if you get to a point where you have like 15 carriers and a mothership and they all have +3 weapons, that is like God mode. Like you'll just win all the time. But it takes forever.
The games I ever feel like comfortable enough to build Stargates, like I'm already so far ahead that it just doesn't matter.
Exactly, that's usually how it goes. Usually you'll start sky toss is like a transition when you have a lead. That's usually the best way to do it.
Yeah.
All right, and then yeah, the Stalker count keeps climbing. So this is just going to be a composition problem for you, because he up there he's now making Archons. So in the units tab. Sorry. Sorry, I got carried away. I'm at 1027. Tell me when you get there and I'll play again.
Yeah, I'm pretty close. Oh no, I'm seeking. All right, I'm ready.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, so you have 28 Stalkers. He has like 13 Zealots, 6 Immortals, and 3 Archon. So he's definitely going into that comp, and you're all that's gonna happen is he's gonna charge all over your Stalkers, and his Archons and Immortals are just gonna pound your Stalkers until they're dead. And then your army's like, even though you might have the same supply, if you were both at 200 supply and he had that Archon charge a lot Immortal, and you have mostly Stalker with some Immortal, it's gonna be a situation where it's like, You're both at 200 supply, but your supply is effectively maybe like 160 in terms of how it's going to trade versus him. It's just like starting off weaker.
Right.
But now you are switching into Archon charges on Warrior yourself, which thank God, like, you know, you have to do this. So that's good that you're starting to switch into it, but you've just stayed on Stalkers for so long. So that's the biggest problem for you now. And then I'm going to pause one more time at 12:15. And I do like that you're doing this. This is proper, but you're also doing it so blind. And again, this is once again perfectly where a hallucinated Phoenix comes in. And we'll just say this, okay? We'll say this. There are stages of scouting that make sense. Stage 1 of scouting, and each stage can kind of change a little bit based off of like each time your sentry has the energy to cast a hallucination and you do it, the stage of scouting can kind of alter a little bit and change a little bit. So the very first Phoenix, the first stage of scouting could be, did he expand at all, or is he all-inning me? It's like the all-in scout, just confirming that you're not going to die to someone who's rushing you, basically. Because you're comparing, again, you're always comparing his build to your build. So if you have a natural he doesn't, you should probably expect to be attacked. Stage 2 is the greed check, more or less, and also the composition check, and it's once again comparing your build to his build to see who's been more efficient. So obviously, if you have a lead already in stage 1 in economy, you can further analyze that lead going into the second scout. But again, the second scout is just like, you want to see if this guy's going really greedy, being like, I'm taking a really fast third and not making units at all. Or you want to see if he's going for, like, he's going to do like a 2-base all-in where you can see that he's like throwing down like 7 gates in his main or something like that off of 2 bases. And then again, also just comparing your economy to his economy, where you count your probes now. And you go, we both have a natural nexus, but my economy says I have 14 out of 16, no gases yet, and I'm still saturating. And as you fly over his, you see like 6 probes. You can be like, okay, I have a nice lead, and then you go scout composition, and stuff like that. See what he's making with what he has. Or if you see, okay, he's tied with me, then you know you're tied. There's no reason why you should ever be behind if you're the one expanding first. If you are behind, it's only because you played inefficiently, because you know, there's no way he should have a lead over you in that regard. But yeah, like, it's just confirming where the state of the game is at. And number 2, in the second scout, the third scout is once again, now it's for base location and it's for expansion timings. So the third scout will be, let's go check both of his potential third bases, and let's just see if this guy's going for a really greedy third, and then follow up a scout into his natural and his main. And you can once you're in there, you can count probes again on the newer base that he has, so which would still be the natural if there's no third. And then you could be like, okay, does he have as many probes as I do? Is he fully saturated? If he's not, that's even more reinforcement that you're ahead. And then you're again scouting composition. And then again, every scout after this, after the third one, it kind of just becomes the same thing from then on, because the economy is going to be kind of established at this point. And Sentry Hallucination Scout number 4 and the rest is always, let's look at bases. Let's just look at outer bases that are next to the ones we already know he has. So if he has top middle, you'd want to check top right, the middle of the map right below top middle, and then the base on the left below his main. And then scout into his bases. Because you just want to see, is this dude expanding further? And then go look for his army after that and his current base count. And like look at his probes again later and his tech and all this stuff. Because you're first... The reason why these are important is because you just want to know where your army should be going to attack him later on in the game. Because on Sentry Scout number 4, we're talking like that's going to be around like 140 supply Protoss. Like you're going to be up there pretty high already, and you can totally have the potential to move out and attack stuff if you want to. But everything before that is the developing stages, and it gives you reads on if you should possibly be aggressive, if he's being way too greedy, if you should be defensive, if he's being if he's cutting his own economy way too hard and he's going to potentially be aggressive, or if it's a middle of the road game where you're both kind of doing the same shit. It comes down to scouting composition then and going, do I need these stalkers? Do I need to be making mass stalkers, or should I be making something else? And if you would have scouted all of his zealots and immortals, making mass stalkers wouldn't have been the best idea. Making maybe like 10 would have been fine for the Phoenix, and then being like, okay, this dude's going immortal zealot already.
Okay.
Exactly, yeah. Because the blink is going to make them so efficient at killing those Phoenix. It's like it's seriously, it's like a guaranteed
I
kill.
don't think I've ever researched Blink in like a single game, but maybe I'm gonna have to practice that a bit.
Yeah, and then the other thing too is the Twilight Council. If you get Blink early, it's very useful because not only does it then allow your Forge to keep upgrading, but then you can just get charge.
Yeah.
All right, so just understanding the stages of like where PvP goes basically is going to be the best thing for you, and that sentry is going to help you so much in that regard.
Anything micro just sort of scares me a bit at the moment, but
Sure.
I think I can handle pressing B.
Yeah, you just blink into the Phoenix, and then your stalkers will always auto attack the closest Phoenix to them. And if you're blinking at them from kind of far away, the only thing you're gonna really have to kind of gauge is how far your stalkers can blink. So you're not being like blink at them and you're still way out of range, and you're like, ah, shit.
Yeah.
Well, that was bad. But yeah. All right, I'm gonna resume it in 3, 2, 1. But right now, at this stage of the game for you, I would say the best thing you could do is go have your stalkers attack him and get rid of them. But obviously, it's too late because he's attacking you. So your composition is just weak. Stalkers are going to just not really perform very well here. And he should run you over. Okay. Compositionally, like, his army is better, but his army is getting a bit spread out awkwardly. But here we go. Now we're really seeing the power of these Immortals versus Stalkers, and the Zealots are just absorbing the damage. And you're both just warping in like madmen.
I think he was missing armor upgrades as well, which I don't know if that changes that much.
I'll pause it again right now, 1355, and we'll talk about it a little bit. Armor upgrades really don't matter that much in PvP. Like, they're nice to have, but I would say they're nice to have after weapon upgrades. And the reason why I would say I'm not the biggest fan of going armor upgrades right now as well that much is because realistically, the only unit you're going to really gain a benefit with armor against is a Zealot. And the reason why that doesn't matter is because Zealots are going to die so fast anyways if you have Archons, because Zealots are biological, and Archons just not only splash them because they're also melee, but Archons hit so fucking hard that they're just like, get the fuck out of the way. So if you have a lot of Archons, Zealots just disappear.
So would you use single forge or would
I
you
would single
do
forge.
shields?
Single forge.
Right. Okay.
So I would just chrono weapons all the way, and then I would get armor, and then I would get shields. Like,
Right.
1,
And
2,
that's
3,
what
1,
we
2, 3.
said.
Yeah, exactly. And the reason why is because I would rather have more gas invested into Archon than Zealot, and then rather than armor upgrades.
Right. Okay.
And then people ask, why would armor only help Zealots? The reason why armor would only help Zealots is because there are breakpoints in StarCraft where you have a situation where you can say it takes an Archon 6 hits to kill a Zealot. And then you go, okay, well, what if a Zealot has level 1 armor, though? It would take an Archon 6 hits to kill a Zealot. What if a Zealot has level 2 armor? 6 hits to kill a Zealot. Okay, well, what about level 3 armor? 6 hits to kill a Zealot. It's the same thing no matter what armor upgrade you have, because these units hit so fucking hard that armor doesn't change this. Like, if a unit hits for like an Immortal, for instance, as well, hits a Stalker for 65 damage, and if you have level 1 armor, okay, well, now we're talking about gets hit for 64. You have level 2 armor, okay, now it hits for 63. Like, it just doesn't do shit, really.
So versus like Marines or Zerglings or something.
Yeah.
Really helpful.
Armor is amazing against units that have low damage and high attack speed. It's really kind of not good versus units that have slow attack speed and high damage, or medium attack speed and high damage.
Okay.
Like, and like both an Immortal and an Archon are both units with medium attack speeds but high damage, because they both hit in the 40s to 60s, and both of them have an attack speed of about like 1 per second, which is that's fast. But like a unit with like a slow attack speed would be like a siege tank. It's like over 2 seconds for that shit, but it hits for like 70 by default, which, you know, again, like I would never be like, let's get armor on roaches for against siege tanks. Yeah, exactly. So you again, what you could have as a trade-off is you could have just like another 1 or 2 Archons instead of armor upgrades, and which could be the difference of being like, I have 9 Archons or I have 11 Archons, that's actually pretty huge for the amount of DPS you're going to have as well. All right, I'm going to resume it in 3, 2, 1. So that fight went probably about as good as it could have for you, just because of how it lined up. I feel like Stalker armies, if you fought him in the open and it wasn't awkward, you would have totally lost there. But the splitting, a bit of stuff happened in your favor where it was favorable splits for you, and your Stalkers actually ended up trading really well. And now you're actually going into Charge the Archon Immortal massively, which is totally what you should be doing. So I'm glad this game has been reset for you, and you have a chance now, compositionally. Yeah.
I can still throw it away. Don't you worry about that.
I'm gonna pause it at 15:17.
Yep.
And I'm gonna say this right now is it's like the discovery stage of this. This is when, if you still had a Phoenix, you should be sending it out, being like, where are your bases? Just scout every base in the map that hasn't been seen yet, and just find out where its expansions are. And if you don't have a sentry anymore, you don't always have to rebuild one, because at this stage, this is definitely when you should have like maybe, if you wanted to, this is when you could be like, I have an observer in your base, and I'm just watching your tech and seeing if you transition. That'd be great. But realistically, if the sentry has died at this point, you can send like one zealot on the right side and one zealot on the left side, and just look for expansions. Where are his newest expansions? And then that's where you can attack, because you don't ever want to attack into the heart of his base right away, because all you do is you set yourself up to get flanked and also be outpositioned, kind of like what he just was.
I think we're about to have an example of that.
Okay. Okay.
Coming right up.
Okay. It looks like it because of where you're positioning your army.
Yeah.
And then another thing too.
Center of the base, you say?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
Another thing to do right now too, that's great, is I would say if you don't already own one, which you don't, this is the perfect time to make a dark shrine, and this is also the perfect time to throw down at least one cannon per mineral line. And the reason why this is important is because look at your bases, and if this guy, and we'll look at everyone's vision, and let's look at his bases. So he has some cannons at his third. He actually has cannons around his bases, so he's a little bit more protected to this than you are. But this is around the stage of the game where, if you want to, you can totally test and see if your Protoss opponent is really greedy and really unsafe. And if they are, if you find where his bases are and you see no form of detection, you could seriously just be like, okay, let's send one DT to his bases each, and just start making massive problems for him, because we can just, the more bases he has, the harder the problem would be to deal with, because we have DTs killing probes everywhere. So the one cannon per base helps a lot at just stopping stray DTs from fucking you over. Which is
kind of what he's done.
Yeah. And then on top of that, if you make a dark shrine and your opponent does shit where they go, okay, well, I'm just going to start doing run-bys against you with maybe a warp prism, and I'm going to warp in 12 zealots in your main and see if I can make a big problem for you. Or I'm going to do things where I'm just going to run like literally 15 zealots around the map, or 10 zealots or whatever, and I'm going to go hit your newest base. If you have a cannon that will take the aggro of those zealots so your probes don't immediately die, and then you just warp in your own DTs there to defend that as well. You're like, oh, he's got 10 zealots, let's warp in like 8 DTs. Like, your cannon doesn't even die at that point, because the DTs kill the zealots so fast, and they also body block invisibly. And then you can then use those DTs to do something else. Like, now you can make Archons if you want to, or you can, if you see, oh, well, these DTs could fuck him up too now if I really want to, and you could go counterattack him.
Send him out, yeah.
Yeah,
cool.
DTs are just great at like dealing with harass, base trade type shit, and then the cannons help you deal with, again, the stray DTs.
Right.
All right. So I'm gonna resume in 3, 2, 1, and let's see your attack. Yeah, because you can see I'm gonna pause again now at 15:39, and
yep.
Your army definitely just got kind of fucking plowed, and it's because a lot of your units were stuck hitting the gateway. Some of your units were walking further into the right, fighting those zealots. There was like a zealot over there for him, and like a cannon, and now you have even a lot more zealots that are over here way on the right side getting body blocked by the SimCity of Protoss, and they're getting stuck on these cannons as well. So I would say effectively your army, like, if 100% of his army fought yours, only like 65% of your army fought back against him at the same time. So now he's...
Remember how the replay was called Army Throwaway?
Yeah, exactly.
That was the throwaway.
Yeah. So it's just impatience. And if we look at everyone's vision, and let's just say we scouted base, like, locations, the best place to attack him would have been the very far left. The one with 2 pylons and just a building nexus. And the reason why that is because you got to consider the fact that if we're at 15 minutes and 39 seconds, look at his main base. Look at your main base. You don't even have to see his main base to know this is what's happening. You're mining out. He's mining out. Look at your natural. You're mining out. He's mining out. And then look at your third base. Like your third base is still good. Your fourth is good. Your fifth is good. But if you killed his fourth base, or sorry, his fifth base, and you know, okay, this guy's on 4 bases, you can kind of be like, well, realistically, he's kind of on like 2.5, because if he's on 4 bases and one is mined out and one is almost mining out, it's got like only half saturation left, but it's not going to be up for very much longer. You can be like, well, I have a fifth and he doesn't, so if I just like play this game a little bit more patient and I either force a fight to happen somewhere that's going to be even footing for both of us, but I just don't let him take a 5th base now, I develop a bank and I can do something now like increase my gateway count, which is what you did a little bit. Right now you have 14 gates, or no, you have even more, sorry. You have 20, or sorry, this is 18 gates. 18 gates is pretty good. I would say you could even make a little bit more if you wanted to. If you're developing a bank and you're like, well, I'm just not taking a fight with him, but I've confirmed that I am mining more than he is. You just prepare
and just freed up that supply, maybe.
Exactly. Yeah, you just prepare further for the remax, because if you're mining on 5 base, he's only mining on 4. You know for a fact you have more money than he does, and you guys are both eventually gonna have to take a fight, and when that fight happens, you're both gonna lose a shitload of army, but then you win in the remax. If he's only got like 14 gates and you have 22 gates, well, you're just gonna have supply leads after that point from forever, until like before he maxes again, which you could then be really like the perfect time to do the kind of attack you just did would be if you guys fought in the middle of the map. You both kind of reset down to 100 supply. You remaxed up to 200 supply, and he's only at like 160 now because you had a better bank. Then you could be like, let's go for the heart of his base, because you're just really like ramming him while he's now at a deficit.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, I'm gonna resume it in 3, 2, 1. And then yeah, it's just, this is gonna be unrecoverable for you because you don't have enough of a bank to make up the difference right now before he gets to your base. So you're gonna be fighting him with like a 60 supply deficit or a 50, and pausing it at 1610. That's exactly what's happening. Like he shows up, he's got 50 supply over you, and you're dead. So now he's gonna kill. Like there's nothing you can do about it. You have to try and defend this, because if you just let him kill all your bases, you're dead anyways. And if he kills your economy or kills your army, that's a lose condition. And yeah, it's because you gave him the lead a second ago with the army throwaway.
And he went down the side, which is what I should have done.
Yeah. And did he... I'm going to actually hit B once, just to back it up, because I want to see if he even knows if this is where your base is. So now I'm at 1542, and looking at his vision, he actually knows this is your newest expansion, because he did scout it beforehand with something.
I think he flew some phoenixes over it.
Yeah. So he made the right call, which is, what is the best place to attack my opponent? It's the newest expansion, because the newest expansion is always going to have the least amount of SimCity, and it's going to be the most exposed. And it's also the fact that if he attacks your newest expansion, the likelihood or the chance of him being flanked by you is very low, because the only way that could happen is if you ran around the map and came behind him as well. So he doesn't have like warp and pylons on the left and the right like you did when you went into the heart of his base.
Right.
Yeah. And then I'll just play again from now. 3, 2, 1, go. I'm at 1548.
Cool.
And yeah, now I just see him just... This is like that snowball effect.
Watch this again.
Yeah. I want to see it again right now. Oh, let's watch the snowball effect. It all does.
Seems needlessly cruel, really.
Yeah, and then...
Watch is over.
And then now there's just really not much. Like, look at these zealots. Like, I'm not saying zealots are bad, but I'll pause it one more time at 17 minutes. And I know the game's obviously over, but we'll just explain this last point. The main reason why zealots are made, again, it's not only because we need something in the front line to tank for our archons and our immortals, but the reason why zealots are so good is because they actually pepper in a little bit. They can pepper in a little bit of damage here and there if you have enough of them, but it's just really because they're like fodder. They just absorb quite a bit of damage. They have a pretty decent health pool, And they're also pure minerals, which correlates perfectly to Archons with going into High Templar. So the more going into a lot of Zealots also allows you to go into a lot of Archons, and Archons are actually the scary thing. Like if you ever could get to a point, you would actually prefer to have an army that is 100% Archon Immortal. And then as soon as shit starts dying, you can resupply into Zealots because they get in there fast with charge. But yeah, charge lots are always just you're making them because you don't have any gas left over to make your power units, and you just want to fill in the gaps with Zealots because it'll tank for the power units. But yeah.
That's it. That's the game.
But recapping it, the biggest thing that'll help you overall is that sentry. Literally, out of your first 2 gates, make a sentry out of one of them, and then you're gonna be like, wow.
Unit,
yeah.
You said.
Yeah. So if you again, you should also, even though you went Nexus first, I don't think you should do that either. I think you should always open 2-gate core and then expand, because
just PvP.
In PvP, yes. In PvZ and in PvT, you can do what you did, but in PvP, the double adept shit happens way too much, and you'll never get if your opponent is smart with how he uses adepts, you'll never get a lead doing Nexus early like that. You'll always get a deficit.
Okay.
But yeah, that sentry will help you so much at just like reading the game better, and then again, understanding like that pyramid we talked about, which is do whatever you think you need to do to deal with what his opener is, and if the game does not end from the opener, go into Charge Lot Archon Immortal and stay on that like all game, and then you could literally get to GM and be in GM competing with that playstyle and never going to the tip of the pyramid, because like I was saying before, it's incredibly rare to ever see someone transition into pure Sky Toss versus Charge Lot Archon Immortal, because most people just die somewhere in that stage of a Charge Lot Archon Immortal. It just happens all the time. Like we're talking like 1% of the time people go Sky Toss and they get away with it. But yeah, Charge the Archon Immortal, easy peasy wins. And then, so the stages, you know, are you trying to get to your economy to a nice point? I'll ask you a question really fast and just see what you say, and then I'll give you my opinion. What is your ideal worker count? If the game doesn't end and you're able to get to a certain number, what do you kind of like to aim for?
I usually try to go to about 75 to 80.
Okay.
Like 80 would be where I consider the best, but if it's later in the game and we've been trading a bit, then sometimes I let that drop. Like if he knocks out a base, sometimes I might sit at 60 or 65 instead.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. That's a good answer. I would say around, if you're going to be going Charge the Archon Immortal, around 80 is perfect, because it allows you to, 80 is like probably the sweet spot number for being able to remax quickly with an army composition that's designed to trade, which is what this army definitely is. So that is good. And then I would say if you get to a point where you max out, for sure try to make sure you at this point you have the in-game preparations, which is there's 3 of them. One is the cannons we talked about for stray DTs and stuff like that to avoid future problems. Number 2 is having a Dark Shrine, so that can create weird base raid situations for you and him. It helps a lot. It also helps at just defense in so many ways. And then number 3 is expanding your production. So if you're maxed out and you're like, well, what if my army dies and I want to remax fast, but I have a lot of bank? Maybe making another robo and making extra gates. So instead of having like, let's just pretend you have 1 robo of 14 gates. Now you can have like 2 robos and like 20 gates, or like maybe even 3 robos and like 22 gates. And now it's like, well, if I want to remax, I can remake supplies so fucking fast. And you can increase these numbers when your economy gets more and more ridiculous. So if you're maxed out with like, let's say, this is also assuming your economy is still healthy. It's not assuming you don't have any more money coming in. So we're saying like 80 probes are still effectively mining, okay? You could at that point, let's say you have like 3,000 minerals. You could have like, that would be a great time to have like 18 gateways and like 1 robo. Now let's say you have like 5,000 minerals. That'd be like maybe like 22 gates and 2 robos. Let's say you have like 8,000 minerals in the bank. Or like you're just way the fuck up there. You could have totally like 3 robos, maybe even like 4 robos, and like maybe like 26 gates. Like it's just basically you want to get to the point to where if you do the math in your head, you want to get really close to just being like, well, I just lost 100 supply and I just remade it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And if you think about how it works, each gateway represents 2 supply, and each robo should represent 4 supply. In terms of like what you can immediately remake.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
And yeah, dude. I don't know.
Cool.
Any other questions about stuff, Ola?
No, I mean, because ideally these are the kind of games you play, right, where they're a little bit longer because there's efficiencies happening.
Yeah.
So this will help me a lot in I suppose the ideal game. Because the other times I lose, it's usually like 5 minutes in, and there's 20 stalkers in my base, and I have like 1 guy.
Yeah. And that's where the sentry will help you a lot.
Yeah, yeah. So hopefully that'll stop some of that stuff. But yeah, the rest of it, I don't know if there's any broad advice you could give me because, like I said, like the Marauder game just stands out where I'm like,
Same thing again.
my probe gets to his base and there's no barracks there. I go, okay, I'm being proxied, and I just respond.
Yeah, always, and not even just PvP, every matchup, and as Protoss, if you want to expand, take a sentry second.
Yeah.
And then that's going to give you, and again, it follows the same rules in every matchup too, where you go for the stages of scouting we talked about earlier, and you're always comparing. The only one that it's not like exact to compare with is Zerg, because Zerg should always be ahead of you, but the way you can compare it is if you're a little bit behind in economy, you should feel like you're even. But if you're ever actually even in economy or you're ahead in economy, you should feel like as Protoss, you're way the fuck ahead. You're like, wow, I have a way better economy than this guy. I just got to not die here. You know, and if the guy has, like, let's just say he's got his base. He's got 3 bases, and your Phoenix flies over all 3 of them. You're on 2 bases, and you're either ready to take a 3rd or something like that. And you go, wow, this guy has no layer. He has no drones on his 3rd base. I'm fully saturated on my natural, and he only has, like, 6 drones. And his main is fully saturated, and so is mine. But his tech is, like, non-existent. And you're like, okay, let's just, let's go ahead and make some batteries. And then suddenly he shows up with, like, Roach Ravager, because you're like, that makes sense as to why your economy sucks so bad. You're going, like, for this big Ravager Ling all-in or some shit.
So you get a bit more defensive. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
There was one game I was going to show you, but this was ages ago and it was old patch, so it didn't play out. It's probably the worst, most frustrating game I've ever played. They put a planetary fortress in my natural, which was fun.
Yeah.
And then just like 20 ravens just constantly dropping turrets at all my mineral lines.
Okay.
And I was like, I don't even know what to do here. And I went to transition to Phoenix, but I think it was too late. Then at the end of the game, they're on like 193 APM, and I thought, did I just get trolled?
Yeah, probably. I mean, that style is very awkward. I feel like the more awkward something is, the better you have to be to execute it. But against something like that, I would say the best, if I was in that situation where I was playing someone who was just going Ravens and trying to keep PF harassing me, what I would probably do is I would because I would also expect there's also going to be potential transitions. I'd probably just make Tempest, honestly. And I would just have Tempest pick Ravens apart. And then if this guy switched into anything else, I could also have the ability to have, like, Blink Stalkers and, like, Psionic Storm. So if he goes into, like, Mass Viking, suddenly I can Psionic Storm them really hard. And if he goes into... also, I could have the potential to be like, I can make Stalkers and blink at his Stalkers too. Or blink at my Stalkers at the Vikings, if that's a problem. But Tempest will beat everything else.
That comes from scouting a bit earlier, hey, and reacting more appropriately. Like, I think in that game I was like, alright, it's time to transition to Phoenixes, but it was like the 5th time turrets had been dropped at my mineral lines. Probably I should have done it the first time.
The scary thing too about Phoenix is Phoenix do have to commit a little bit closer as well, so you actually will have to fly over turrets to kill Phoenix. You'll have to fly over his auto turrets for Phoenix to actually kill Raven. So Phoenix actually is kind of a risky option there. But like Tempest, you don't ever have to fly over the turrets, and you just pick his Ravens apart.
Yeah, makes sense.
But yeah, like judging from what I saw in your scouting this game, you didn't really scout much at all. Like, you never scouted for base locations, you never scouted for base count, you didn't scout for economy saturation, you didn't scout for composition. The only real scouting that was happening was reacting to what he was hitting you with.
Yeah, so that'll probably change my game up as I just start getting more information.
Yeah. Because I would say honestly, the only form of scouting I saw you have this game at any point, when it was your scouting him, was you were looking to see what would walk out of his natural with your oversighted observer. And then that observer died to his Phoenix when they came back at one point in time because he also had an observer nearby.
Yeah, cool.
But yeah, so like, but just know that part of scouting, it actually is reacting to what you see. So if he's hitting you with Phoenix, that is effectively a scout right there. But giving yourself the option of also scouting him might make you react to things like this faster and more efficiently.
Yeah, cool. I think that's, I mean, that's the number one thing I think I'm just gonna try and work on is,
Yeah,
yeah, getting more scouting done, proactive scouting, I guess, rather
it's
than
gonna make
reactive.
the biggest difference for you, man. Because now you're gonna be like, wow, I actually like. And again, the biggest mindset I want you to have when you do this is always compare his build to your build. So like, if you shouldn't, I don't like a lot of people when they scout. Whenever I tell someone you have to scout, and I've learned this from telling this to multiple people, I go, what does that mean? And they go, I have no fucking idea. You tell me. I don't know. And then I realized if you just like, because this is what I do, but I didn't really articulate it very well when I first told people this. But then I realized, well, all you have to really do is just go, what have I done to what have they done? And if they're on even footing with me, that must mean they did something similar to what I did. But if they're not even close, well, why is that? What did I do and what is in the opposite end of the spectrum? I'm economy, they're aggression. Something like that. So just base it off your build.
How do we respond?
Exactly, yeah. So that should definitely help a lot, man.
Cool. Thanks, man.
Yeah, I wish you the best of luck. Let me know how it goes, and
Thanks, I'll need it, yeah.
and if you want to watch the whole VOD again as well, I will. I'll send you a Discord message here, probably within a day after I upload it, and you'll have access to watching it again.
No rush. Thanks, hey, thanks so much for your time today. Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, dude.
Hope you take some time off.
I won't, unfortunately. I'll be streaming every day.
Oh, well, enjoy the period anyway.
Yeah, thanks, man. And
See you, man.
See you, dude. All right, guys, thank you for watching the coaching lesson. If you guys enjoyed it, there are many more coaching lessons that I have done. You can check them out on my YouTube page. Just literally, you can even type in just like ViBE coaching and you'll probably find it, or you could just go to my YouTube channel and scroll down to StarCraft coaching. I have like probably like 50 plus lessons at this point. But thanks for watching. Subscribe if you liked it, and I will see you in the next one. Later, guys.